Skeleton Crew. Now, Skeleton Crew just had its episode 4, and I thought that, you know, throughout the entire series, episode 4 I thought was actually the worst episode of this entire series. And realistically, I felt like they could have cut out the entire scene of the people on the planet and still just got to that tower and then still would have had an episode. It seemed like filler because, I mean, like, unless we visit these people again, I don't see what significance it brings other than the fact that it helped character build, you know?
Yep. I mean, yeah, I mean, we definitely saw Neil's character kind of, we understood Neil's perspective of he doesn't like violence. He's like a kumbaya, wants everyone to get along, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only, and I agree with you. I think you could have easily cut out the entire aspect of them coming to this planet, and because it has no bearing on the story. It has, to me, outside the fact that they come to this destroyed like sanctuary, whatever they were calling it, which mimics what they have on their planet. And that's the other thing. I thought that added at least a little bit of context was, we know their planet is called At Aten. This is supposedly a sister planet called At Akron, and they don't see, either the people on this planet don't know about At Aten, or they think At Aten is gone. And and I think that's where the other thing where I believe they do need to explain this barrier a little bit more, because
you saw it when they were going in. There was those satellites that were circling the planet. I was like, oh, that must be the barrier, I would imagine.
Correct. But if the thing is that you can get off this planet as they did, go through the barrier, and they can't find their way back, and everyone believes this planet is a myth, it's a mystery. They don't believe that it even exists. So does that mean that once you're outside the barrier, you can't then see the planet because the barrier is keeping it like hidden, like invisible? Because if that's the case, then the people on At Akron would then tend to believe that At Aten is no longer there because they're not surrounded by a barrier. I mean, they had the coordinates. They easily went there. But what we saw on that sister planet was when the kids first showed up, they thought, is this our home planet? What happened? How long have we been gone?
Yeah.
And then they realized it obviously wasn't their planet. Now, there was a bit more humor, like childish humor in this episode.
Yeah, there was.
Right? Like SM33 talking to Judd, like, hey, I'm your babysitter. Come on, baby. Get back.
Yeah,
which was kind of like out of place.
I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Because I was like, why are we doing that? Like, yeah.
It was.
Go ahead.
No. It was completely out of place when that was happening. Again, I understand why I understand they're trying to add a little bit of the kid humor to it, but it just felt completely out of place. And again, as the episode plays on, you really they eventually get to the Fallen Sanctum, which resembles their the supervisor's tower at
Well, like all of the constructions on their planet all look with the same on this planet. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, so it's predetermined how each one of these planets is going to be laid out.
Correct. And then we also learned that SM33, he's either starting to gain back his previous programming of, hey, you're not my captain. Hey, I've been here before. I'm the one that destroyed that pillar that had the coordinates on it. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going into the next episode. Are they going to keep him kind of going back and forth? Right. Now, Judd, on the other hand, they're having him, unless he's going to have a major character turn, like we've anticipated him potentially having, where he's just playing along with these kids, and eventually he'll turn on them and be like, "Hey, I'm really in this for myself. Really, just wanted the treasure off your planet."
Yeah,
he's taking a liking, a connection to them, especially when he goes and saves them. But the kids find out, especially is it Fern? Not Fern, but Wim finds out that, well, you stole my credits. to pay to get us saved.
But without it, they might have got killed. Who knows?
Yeah. So or they would have been enslaved.
Yeah, I think he does care about them. I think he does feel something for them a little bit. But at the end of the day, he wants to get to At Aten because he's heard of this place like it's it's like a myth. Where it's got what do you call it? A treasure on there, so he's been trying to get to, and he was even asking the robot, like, "Do you remember any treasure? Do you remember any of this?" And I thought it was interesting the way Fern figured out that, hey, wait a minute, I know why he doesn't know, because he was probably told not to know about it. He's probably told to not remember any of this.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a cool twist. But dude, I'm sorry, but when they met the other kids on the planet, I was like, oh no, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Like, this is like super kids show. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
I mean, they went full on kids show at that point.
They went full on kid show. I mean, like, I felt like when I was watching at that part, I was like, okay, now I feel like this is Disney Plus. I feel like there's too many kids now. I mean, come on. And then the guy's like, oh, well, you know, my daughter saved you because we respect our children or something. I was like, what are we talking about, dude? This is a fucking, this is a goddamn war zone for what? You know, like, what are you guys even fighting over? You know, they never even really said what they were fighting over. So, look, the owl lady in the previous episode said that each planet had been destroyed.
Oh, Kim? Yeah, Kim.
Yeah. So she said they'd been destroyed, but this planet obviously wasn't destroyed. It was just, it had fallen. Like, it had fallen into war and into despair. And the daughter did say, like, you know, we have to hunt for all our food. We have to scavenge for all of our food. We have to fight for our food. So whatever order the planet was supposed to have, it went off its, you know, it went off its trail, off its path, and now it's a total war zone.
Yep.
So it goes to show you that Atten is probably the only one that was able to sustain that for a long period of time.
Well, and still does. They still remain civilized, right? To your point, they haven't fallen. Because I think the kids were asked, and Jod was asked, "What flag do you fly?" So and Jod even mentioned that he had to pay whatever, I can't remember what the name of the tribe was or a group that captured him. And then that's when he revealed, yeah, I had to pay to get whatever those creatures were back for the other tribe. And then then they said, oh, okay, well, now we owe you. You can have weapons, you can have whatever, hides as well. Hides. Yeah. It's like, really? I mean,
we trade for weapons and hides. I just felt like at the end of the day,
Trox is what the Trox tribe is. That's their name. The Trox were the ones that took the kids, and they were called the Epas. Apias is what those animals were called, if I remember correctly. But regardless, it was just kind of odd that, again, this all just seemed very unnecessary as part of the story. Very unnecessary.
It seemed very unnecessary. And you know, if you were to cut out that whole portion where they met those people, just have them come off the ship. Next scene, after they come off the ship, they're in front of the tower. Like, it would have went smoothly. You know what I mean? Like, it was very unnecessary. But it did help build some of the storylines for the other characters. Obviously, we learned more about the elephant kid. What's his name?
Neil.
Neil. We learned more about Neil, and it really helped develop the characters all the way around. And so that's what this episode was built for, was a way to develop the characters. And I think that they had children in the episode because you can't really have the kids interacting with adults as a way of like developing their characters. You kind of have to have other kids for them to talk to. Besides, even though there's like 4 of them, I guess they needed some other kids to talk to, not each other.
Well, I think the only two of the 4 that had the most development in this episode would have been Neil, and obviously making friends with another kid that was on the planet. Tried to say, "Hey, come with us." She didn't want to leave. She didn't leave. And then Fern, and she seemed a bit shocked that Jod saved them. And you can see that where maybe her opinion is starting to change a bit of him. Because in the first 3 episodes, not in the first 3 episodes, the 2 and 3, she outright does not trust him, thinks he's, up to no good. But now that he saved them, she's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe you are a good guy. Maybe you are, not who I think you are, which I think that will come back to bite them. I think, again, this is setting us up to believe he is going to be this good guy, and he's either going to be faced with an ultimatum. He gets to their planet or gets to this treasure or whatever he's looking for, and he has to decide, do I go for the treasure or do I save the kids? Well, do I go on to the side of the kids? Yes. And the kids are going to have, and they're going to have like this, music playing where it's like, you see these sad faces, like, please don't let us die. And he's gonna have to choose between treasure or the kids.
Wherever they go next, I think that the pirate's gonna catch up to them. They're gonna capture Jude Law, and then he's going to be forced to make a decision of, do I go with the pirates or
Yeah.
do I help the kids? And I think initially he's going to go with the pirates, and he's going to realize, like, you know what, I'm making the wrong choice. Like, they need me as much as I need them.
Yeah.
And of course, I think that whole dynamic of, you're not a Jedi, Jedis wouldn't do this, you aren't a Jedi, you're just a bad person, you know. And then he's going to be like, oh fuck, I got to help these kids out. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But overall, this was a very boring episode. I was
Yes.
not interested in meeting the other people. There wasn't a lot on here that really intrigued me, other than the end when they got to the tower and they saw that there was, all the locations for all the other planets. And then it started making me think, okay, so does that mean that the next episode we're going to another planet? In another planet? Because I mean, this is what, 6 or 8 episodes?
It's 8, I believe.
So
Yeah, it's 8 episodes. The last episode airs on the 14th of January, so it's 8 episodes.
Well, I want to say there was like 4 planets, I want to say, I think. So,
yes.
So they, realistically could go to 3 more planets, one of them being their own. And maybe on the next planet, because I mean, look, at this point, they have to go to the next planet because they have to see if they can see the coordinates to Aten, which were destroyed on the one they were on. So they have to go to the next one to see if the same tower is there, so that they can, find it. I'm guessing they're going to go to the next planet and nothing will be there. It'll be a total like opposite of what they thought it would be, and then the last one will somehow give them the the coordinates. But like I said, dude, look, I love this show. I think Skeleton Crew is a really cool, fun show, but I just think that this episode was probably the worst episode of the whole season, for me at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and we've seen this. It always seems to happen with every show where you get to, whether it's episode 4 or 5. It seems like that's the because we saw that. Remember when we did X-Men 97?
Yeah.
Episode, I think it was episode 4, because that was the Jubilee episode. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mojo, and that was a complete filler episode. Really didn't add much to the story, and it seems like if they're going to do 8, the episode 4 mark is the filler episode. It seems to be the standard, and then they start to get back on track. Which, to me, I don't think this needed a filler episode. I think they could have kept progressing the story just fine without any of this in here. Again, the only thing that I felt it added to it was understanding that there's sister planets, similar names, that have, like, to your point, they have like the same houses, but they're in different points of decay or different points in time, maybe, who knows. That beyond that was all it really added to the story for me.
I think, I would have been happier if they would have landed there, saw everything was a wreck, saw everything looked like their home planet in terms of like the design of the buildings and their locations and all that. And then they went straight to the tower and then had that whole exchange and then headed to one of the other, 2 planets that, might have the coordinates. And then landing on that planet, and then that's where the episode kind of kicks, ends. But
and there's no word on this even having a second season yet, which, I mean, rightfully so, we wouldn't know that as of yet, 4 episodes in. I think once we get to 7 or 8, we might hear a potential that they greenlight a second season. If they haven't already, they're just holding back, just making sure that the numbers stay somewhat consistent after the whole previous Star Wars show. we won't it's the show that will not be named.
We won't say that one. Have you guys ever been to Colorado? No, I have not. Thank you for asking.
Yes, but it's been many years.
Have you ever been to Queensland?
No, I haven't.
How about Drogo? Have you been to Queensland, or have you been to Victoria? I think those are 2 cities in Australia, I think. Okay, so I mean, overall, I gave this episode a 6 out of 10. Mainly,
really? That's pretty high.
It got over 5 because of the previous episodes. I feel like the show it made this episode acceptable as long as we don't do it again. If we have another episode where it's the same kind of thing, where we're treading on the same water, then that's going to be a problem. Then I'm going to say, okay, wait a minute, this is not what I wanted. I wanted more adventure, action. But yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10 because still, I mean, it still had good special effects, but the story in this one was god awful. And this reminds me of the type of writing that Disney Star Wars has been putting out, where it's just kind of like, oh, I don't care, gets the point.
Yeah.
And look, say what you want, but I don't, at least I don't remember at least. This didn't have any woke shit built into it. It was just a story
No.
about them there. And then they didn't have any weirdness where it was like, oh, what the hell? It was just straight up. And I like that. That's another reason why it scored a little higher for me because it didn't do anything stupid to help sway me away from the show. But that's what I'm going to give this show on like this episode.
Okay.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
I mean, I would probably give it a 5, right in the
Yeah.
middle, just average. Overall show, I think it's still treading for me at about like a 7. I'm hoping on now that we're on the last half of the show, it's gonna start to pick up, right? And I don't mean pick up as we're gonna see. I don't expect that we're gonna see a lot more action. I mean, we'll probably see a little bit more. I imagine once the other pirates catch up to them, because I'm sure they will. Like Urkel, they're gonna eventually catch up
Yeah.
to them at some
Oh,
point.
they're going to catch up. I mean, those are the villains of the show.
Exactly, and I think that's where Jod will have to then make a decision. That's where the pivotal point will come to make a decision. I think
it's probably going to be next episode. I think next episode they're going to get caught, but who knows?
I think it might be mid 6, end of 6, and then the last 2 episodes we're going to be spending on him making those decisions, escaping from the villains, and then finally getting them home. Assuming they even get home, because if they have a second season planned, they could say we're going to end the season without them making it home.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 is 5-10 years later, and because these kids are going to grow up. I mean, if they do a season 2, they're going to start to age like the whole Stranger Things issue, right?
Yeah.
And then if they do a time jump and explain, it's been 10 years, we still haven't made it home yet, we're still trying to find coordinates, it would help explain why they are looking older, rather than having to recast them with older actors and actresses, right? So I think that could be an avenue they could go
down. Do we think that these kids are the people they met on the planet? Do we think they're going to come back this season? Do you think that we'll see them again?
The ones from at Akron, the ones we just saw? No, I think now that they've found the fallen sanctum that mimics their supervisor's tower on their own planet. To your point, they have all those other coordinates except for the ones to get them home. Now I think they're just going to go to the next planet and then see who's inhabiting that planet, whether it's people or I mean, this is a Star Wars universe. We could see completely different life forms there that they're going to interact with, right? And then I think to your point, they might just be going from the next 2 episodes from a couple of different planets, and then finally they're find the coordinates they need, and then try and make their way back. Because again, you have to bring those villains, those pirates, back into the fold somehow.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out how they're going to come back into it, and how they even going to track them down. Are they going to go to Kim, and then Kim's going to say, "Oh, this is where they went," because Kim knows where they went because Kim found. That's how they got the coordinates in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know where these kids, like what's going to become of them. I don't know if this is going to be a show that establishes these characters and then you see them again in, like the Dave Filoni Star Wars movie where they're going to pop back up again. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is a cast that they're going to continue to work with moving forward. They might make this where like, this is, it's going to sound so stupid, where like, this is the Star Wars version. This is their version of like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean? Where this is like the group of kids that you grow up with and start showing up in like the team up Star Wars movies, kind of like Star Wars version of Infinity War, which I think maybe that's what they're doing when it comes to the Filoni Star Wars movies. Maybe they're going to start, bringing everyone together and then they fight a common enemy. So we'll see what happens with that, because this takes place during The Mandalorian, so it's during that time.
Correct.
In between Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens.
Happens at the same time as Mandalorian series, and it's supposed to be after the events of Return of the Jedi. It doesn't say how long after the events of Return of the Jedi, but it is happening at the same time as the Mandalorian is happening. Yeah.
So overall, I still like the show. I want it to be better. I'm hoping it's going to get better than it was last week. It wasn't a total snooze fest, but I thought I'm hoping for a better episode next week.
Yeah. And the one thing, and real quick, one thing I noticed about this show compared to other ones that we've done.
Let's do this. Go ahead and say what you got to say. I got to grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I noticed one thing about this show compared to other shows that we've covered on the channel or done watch parties with. We don't have any insight into the episode names. That's one thing that they've actually, and I'm trying to think if the Star Wars Disney Plus shows have ever done that previously, if they've always kept the names of the episodes under lock and key, so to speak. But I mean, I know when we did Watchmen, when we did The Boys, we knew what the episode count was and we knew what the names of the episodes were. Now with this series, we don't. We don't know the name of the episode until the episode actually drops. And then we don't know. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have a synopsis outside of any, episode teaser trailer that we get at the end of an episode, or usually within a couple days of the episode coming out. Which the next one doesn't come out until Christmas Eve. So, and I'm hoping, and to Andre's point, if they do kind of go this Guardians of the Galaxy thing, which we know with some shows and some films, they do these Christmas specials. I'm hoping because this one happens to fall on the next episode happens to fall on Christmas Eve, that we don't find ourselves in some sort of Christmas theme episode. I don't want to see that.
I hope not.
I hope not either. It would be completely unnecessary, and I think it would just completely deter from what they're trying to achieve here.
There should not be a Christmas episode whatsoever. I think that would be a disaster. Because Christmas shouldn't exist in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Creature Commandos. And before we do that, guys, make sure that you check out Nicotina.net. And a reminder that this show is brought to you by PowerBrandSystems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase over at PowerBrandSystems. If you need a business that will help generate and build you a website for your small business, YouTube channel, or social media account, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use your referral code in the link below when making your first purchase over at Power Brand Systems. And of course, use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your new website over at Power Brand Systems. Like I said, if you want an example of the kind of work that they do, then check out Nicotina.net. That's my website. Go to the website. Memberships are available for all three of my channels, especially the Nicotina Show. It is available there. They start as low as $1. Become a member on the website. It's the best possible way to support the show. If you go to Patreon or YouTube, I'm going to be sharing that money with those companies. Go this way, your money just goes straight to the show and to help support the show. So check out Nicotina.net.